And the best way for a recruiter to assess, a profile is when. So I corrected him there. I said, that's a beautiful story. It talks about leadership, but the way you're saying it, it makes someone think, "Arey, bichara, he did not get an opportunity, so someone gave it to." So the thumb rule, whenever it comes to your accomplishments, is there is a 3 by 3 rule. The resume is just a medium for me to get that interview. Now, if you are going to think that, then you will definitely do a shoddy job at your resume. But if you think that this resume is actually going to get you your next dream job.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
So today we have a very special guest with us, that is Ritika, and she's an experienced recruiter. And today we will be talking about everything about resume, actually, the tips and tricks, what things to avoid, and the mantra for you to get shortlisted. And so I hope this session will help a lot of students. Let's get started with a short introduction from Ritika.
Great. Thanks, Kushal, for having me on this forum. And I'm also a budding YouTuber, so it's quite exciting for me to come and share my insights, on the technical aspects of resume building. And I know that a lot of students, have questions around that. So thank you so much again for inviting me. Well, to start off with a little bit of introduction, I'm an army brat. I was born and raised in a defense family. My father was in the army for about 27 years. So I traveled quite a bit, changed about 7 schools. So traveling was like part of my DNA growing up, and loved traveling. So I think one of the reasons why I became a recruiter was because I wanted to kind of, travel as a part of my job. But I think growing up was fun. Had a lot of adventures. Moving every 2 years, 3 years. So that was good. But coming to being a recruiter, I think that part is something that happened by chance. I never thought I would be a recruiter. I think when I started my career a couple of years back, I was into a back-end role, and that role required me to work on tools, reporting, and all of that. So that was something that didn't give me energy, and I didn't like it that much. But I realized that I had a knack for communication and to interact with people. And I remember there was a leader, and I walked into his office, his cabin, and I told him, I said, I know that I'm aware that there is an opportunity in your team, and I would love to interview for it if you are open to giving me an opportunity. And he was, and he obliged, and I sat for a couple of rounds of interviews and got through. And that's where my journey as a recruiter started, and here I am.
Great. That was pretty interesting, actually. How should a resume layout look like, or should look like for a fresher and for experienced candidates separately?
Sure. So I'll start off with the fresher, and there is no, like mantra to it. It's just very plain and simple. So the logic is, for a fresher, the first thing that people look at, or a recruiter will look at, is their graduation or their post-graduation details with their CGPA, and that is something that should come up top, right, for a fresher. Whereas for an experienced professional, the education details is something that comes last. The other thing a lot of students tend to do is they don't put their CGPA in their education details. So I definitely recommend that you put your CGPA, because a lot of organizations have a certain CGPA criteria that will help them, screen profiles quickly. So for freshers, you start off with the education. Make sure that you don't need to put your 10th and 12th. Start off with your graduation and your post-graduation details. And for a experienced professional, the education details will come last. Then coming to the next one, which is either your internship experience or your work experience, which pretty much remains the same between a fresher and an experienced professional. The one thing that is very important when you put down your experience is when you are explaining what is it that you have done. And people tend to do that, they can write essays when they have to, talk about what they have done in their internship or their work. But what they miss out is, and the very important fact is, the impact that that the work that that actually resulted in. So I've seen resumes, they will talk a lot. There's a lot of information, flowing about what technology they worked on and what they did and all of that, but there is nothing mentioned about the impact. Now, when I say impact, I'm pretty much talking about, okay, so for example, if you say developed an app, and then what happened? Like, you developed an app, you did all of that work, and what did that app do? So how many users use that app? And the best way for a recruiter to assess a profile is when they can assess the profile in terms of volume, in terms of percentage, in terms of numbers, right? So if I were to say I developed an app and this is this really amazing app, and there were 15 million users who use this app, and if I read that 15 million, that is something that will gather my attention quickly. So it's very important, and both for professionals, working professionals, as well as freshers, to make sure that you mention your impact in the work experience or your internship experience. So this will help you gather the attention quickly. The next one in your resume would be your accomplishments or your achievements. Now, this one is a sore point for me, because I read a lot of resumes, people tend to go a little overboard with talking about their accomplishments. I've read resumes where people have said, and I'm talking about someone who's a working professional, has about 5-6 years of experience, said, I was a head boy in my 10th and 12th, I got a elocution competition, some second prize or whatever. Now it's great, but just think from this perspective, how would you being a head boy or a head girl in your 10th and 12th help you land a job, right? If you were talking about leadership skills, I don't think that is coming out. So the thumb rule, whenever it comes to your accomplishments, is there is a 3x3 rule. The 3x3 rule is the last 3 years of your life and into the first 3 positions of your life or your career, whatever. So, for example, in the last 3 years, and the first 3 positions should not be like first, second, third. What you can do is you can write down your accomplishments, whatever it is, and stack rank them as per you. What do you think is number 1, number 2, number 3? And accomplishments could be a variety of things, right? So, for example, you got a rank of, say, 100 in your MCET exam, right? That could be one accomplishment. The next could be you represented India in maybe a karate competition in the world games, or maybe a Commonwealth Games or something, and you won the gold medal for that. That is also an accomplishment. Third could be you won a hackathon wherein you came 19th in around 2 lakh people who participated around the globe. So that is also an accomplishment, right? So accomplishments need not be academic. If you think that you have any accomplishments which are non-academic and they matter, just go ahead and put that there. But just make sure that you stick to the 3x3 rule. So this is with respect to freshers. When it comes to people with experience, the 3x3 rule applies there as well. And for them, what I would like to say is, a lot of companies have some kind of award that they give out to their employees. It could be an applause award or whatever award, right? So whenever you're mentioning that, just make sure that you also talk about why exactly were you given that award. So if there was a reason that you were given that award, then what was the requirement for the organization to give you that award? So just explain that. And then last but not the least would be your technical skills, your certifications, whatever it is that you have achieved. But make sure that your resume is short, crisp, and not like a 5-pager long, because no one really has the time to go through such long resumes.
Very true. So, like, you have gone through a lot of resumes, as you mentioned. So, which thing among them attracted you or fascinated you mostly?
I think for me, there are 2 things. One is the impact of the work that they've done. And that is the first thing I go for. Like, whenever I'm screening the resume, I look for percentages, numbers, volumes, is that mentioned anywhere? That is the first. And the second, of course, is like my favorite, the accomplishments. Like, what exactly are they proud of? What do they think if I were to talk to them personally, and if I were to ask them, okay, can you tell me about some of your accomplishments? What is it that they will tell me? So those are the 2 things that really captures my attention, and something that I look out for whenever I go through a resume.
So the number game can catch a recruiter's
Oh,
attention. That's great. So this question is, I guess, in every student's mind, at how the initial shortlisting is done. Because even I have applied to many organization, and I got rejected. But there was no reason given other than that your resume was not shortlisted. So how the initial shortlisting is done, and specifically for students which are from non-CS backgrounds and from tier 3 colleges, because it's very difficult for them to get into such big companies like the FANG and the MARC and all. Yeah.
okay. So, see, the basic criteria is this, like, and I'll be honest, a lot of companies have a CGPA criteria. We may like it, we may not. When I sat for my placements, unfortunately, there was a CGPA criteria, and my CGPA was pretty low. So the only company that came which matched my CGPA was the one that I got into back then. But apart from the CGPA as well, there are a lot of other factors, and this I'm talking specifically for people who are from non-tier or tier 3 colleges, or do not belong to or they are from the non-CS background. See, it depends on the kind of work that you have put in, right? If your internship is that of a software developer, then why won't a company hire you, or why won't a company give you an opportunity, right? So which is why I keep stressing on the fact that it's very important to make sure that you put your what do you call, your experience pretty clearly. Okay. The other fact, and I know maybe there's a follow-up question, that probably a lot of people will have in their mind, but ma'am, we are in a tier 3 college, we don't get any opportunities, or we are from a non-CS background, not many companies want us. Well, I'm so sorry, but LinkedIn, I see so many opportunities. There are, opportunities and opportunities, especially startups. A lot of people are wanting to go and work with startups. It's a great, learning that you can have. And unless, like I said, if you're going to live under a rock and expect that an offer letter will just fly to you, that unfortunately is not going to happen. So you have to make sure and go out of your comfort zone and find those opportunities. I'll give you an example. Recently I did a resume review on my YouTube channel, and so this person, that the resume that I was using, I spoke to him on a call, and obviously I needed his permission to use the resume, so I thought I'll do a resume review for him. And he was a BCom graduate from, I think, one of the colleges under Delhi University. And I didn't know, like, because generally BCom or non-technical students don't reach out to me. It's pretty much the software developers and the BTech folks that reach out to me. So when I opened his resume, I saw that he was a BCom. He was pursuing BCom. And the first thing I noticed was that he had done his internship in Hong Kong. So I was very curious as to how he got that internship. And then he said, no ma'am, actually there were no internship opportunities in my college. So I went on LinkedIn and I got in touch with people, and that's how I got it. So I corrected him there. I said, that's a beautiful story. It talks about leadership, but the way you're saying it makes someone think, Arey, bichara, he did not get an opportunity, so someone gave it to him. I said, you could have just turned that around, saying that, things weren't happening for me. My college was not getting any placements. And I on LinkedIn, I hunted for an internship, and it was a paid internship. And in a virtual scenario, getting a paid internship, that too for a different geography, I mean, it talks so much about yourself, right? So get out of
Very
your
true.
comfort zone, be active on LinkedIn, follow people. There are so many influencers who share opportunities. I have done a couple for Microsoft alone. There have been some off-campus opportunities this year, and people have applied, people have got through. So look out for those opportunities and build your resume.
It's very true. I mean, LinkedIn has impacted my life as well a lot since I joined that particular platform in terms of networking and connecting with people. So definitely, I mean, students should use it for leverage it for at least networking as well as for job opportunities. So as you mentioned storytelling, so please tell us, since you are a lover of storytelling, so how a student can use storytelling to make their resume more effective?
See, if you recall, when growing up, the best stories that we remember even now were the short stories, right? If I were to ask you, hey Kushal, can you tell me a novel that you read 10 years back? I'm sure you cannot tell me the novel's name or the story. But if I were to tell you, Kushal, do you remember that Thirsty Crow wala story? The one, you'll remember it. Why?
Yes.
Because it was short, it was crisp. There was a moral towards the end. So which is why I keep telling people, you don't need lengthy resumes. A one-pager resume which is crisp, to the point, can make an impact, and is able to tell your story is more than enough, right? And people tend to play around with resumes. They think that, okay, the resume is just a medium for me to get that interview. Now, if you are going to think that, then you will definitely do a shoddy job at your resume. But if you think that this resume is actually going to get you your next dream job, I'm pretty sure the effort that you put into your resume will be so much better and so much different. So just think of it from this perspective. You are to present your resume to the CEO of the company. Say, for example, Microsoft. You have to present your resume to Satya, and Satya will read your resume for 1 minute and he will make a decision, hire or no hire. Now, what is the information that you want Satya to read if that resume was in his hand? Would you want him to read things like I was a head boy or a head girl? No, right? Or would you want him to read things like I developed an app which was used during COVID times, which helped so many people, which this was the impact, and well, this is the app. This is the app that is hyperlinked. Go click on it, see what this app does, right? So just think from that perspective. Just think of yourself as Satya, and if you were reading that resume, would you hire yourself?
That was pretty great. And students are also confused in this scenario. Every student applies to multiple companies. So should a student use the similar resume to every company? Is it a good idea, or is it of no worth? I mean, why?
See, I feel that different companies have different job descriptions. Okay. And I'll give you an example. Say I'll give you a layman's example, my own example. Now, a recruiter is basically someone who sources profile, recruits people, hires people, whatever. Now, some companies might have in their job description something called as talent attraction specialist. Now, what is a talent attraction? Basically, it is a recruiter, but they're just using fancy words, right? Now, if I were to double click on the job description, they would have some fancy terminologies as well, right? Ability to engage with the candidate, ability to, funnel through a lot of profiles and make sure that you have, your selected target candidates, ability to read the complete data and make sure. So what I'm trying to tell you is this is actually a job description of a recruiter. It's just kind of tweaked it to make look fancy. Now, different companies will have their own respective job descriptions. So very important for you to read those JDs first. Make sure what is the wording that is being used, right? A certain company would probably describe a software developer as something else. A certain company would want maybe some certain skill set which is completely different. So one thing very important, and this is also to the experienced professionals fraternity, get out of this thing of one size fits all kind of a mindset, because it doesn't work. That's something that doesn't work, and you need to tweak your resume a bit. I'm not saying just fake everything on your resume, but tweak the words. Make sure what are the words that are being used on the job description. What is it that is that you can probably apply. There would also be words around mastery in, say, for example, Java. Catch those words. Make sure that you tweak your resume as per that, and then apply for those job opportunities. You will get a higher chance of moving from the recruiter than just doing this lottery. Okay, let me just apply everywhere in the world and then let's see something. So yeah.
So one should definitely use the job description to tweak or manipulate the resume.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So how about the minor details? One should also consider them in the resume, like the font size or the format or the spacing between the letters, and even that this is pretty small thing, like typo errors are also there in many resumes. One should add picture of his or her in the resume or not. So please elaborate something on it.
So I think one of the things that I want to tell you and actually tell everybody is, please don't put your picture, don't put your personal details on a resume. Unfortunately, the world that we live in is not safe. Your picture can be probably used for I don't know what. So make sure that your picture is not, unless you're giving in your profile for maybe modeling or something on those lines. I don't think a picture really helps in getting you a job. The other thing, of course, and something that really bugs me is grammatical errors. And I keep telling people that there are a lot of apps out there. There's Grammarly, there are a ton of other apps. So when you think that your resume is up and ready, you've finally done whatever it takes to put on your resume, make sure that you do that last bit of check and put it through Grammarly. It'll help you catch those last minor mistakes, grammatical errors that might be there. The other, and again, a lot of people tend to do that, they overfill their resume. Like there is no breathing space at all. Okay. Now what happens is, if suppose I have to go through 100 resumes in a day, and this is a fact as well, you can research on it, a recruiter only spends 7 seconds at screening a resume. Now within that time, either you can capture my attention, or I just say, I don't think so, this is the right profile, out. So rather than that, make your resume crisp, make sure there is enough breathing space. And if you were to do a quick test, you can ask maybe maybe your parent or your sibling or whoever, just give them your resume, give them a hard copy, tell them you have 7 seconds, tell me what are the things you can gather from my resume, and write it down. And that is the best test. Like if they are able to do it, then you're sorted. I mean, the fact of the matter is that your resume should be able to create that impact in those 7 seconds. So make sure there is enough breathing space on the resume as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great reality check, I guess, and even I will use it, because I haven't came across this any time before, so definitely I'm going to use it. And one problem that even I have faced earlier, that for the first time when I thought that I should make my resume, so that was the most difficult part. And so how you overcome that, and what are the tips according to you?
First thing is, see, a resume, and we need to accept this fact, a resume is never complete. It's always work in progress. Okay, and you might be experienced, you might be a fresher, doesn't matter, because so much is changing right now. Like I'll give you my own example. The last time I updated my resume was probably 4 years back. Okay, now in that 4 years, from then to now, I am sure I've done a ton of things, but I don't remember all of the things. I probably will remember 1 or 2 things that I have done, but all of them have made an impact in some way or the other. Now, similarly, for a fresher as well, there are so many things. There are certifications they are getting, they are working on something, they're probably doing part-time somewhere, and there's so much that they're doing. So always make sure that you keep updating your resume once every 6 months. This is also to the professionals who have experience, because you never know, you might be wanting a job someday or the other, and if you do, then your resume should be up and running, because the biggest task of anybody is, I have to update my resume, and that update of resume takes a lot of time. So rather be proactive and work on your resume, right? That is the first thing. The second thing is, as you're applying to jobs everywhere, you will get to know, okay, I'm getting rejected a lot. That means there is something that I need to tweak in my resume. There is something that I need to change on my resume. So read the signs. If there is a lot of rejection coming your way, that means something is amiss somewhere. And then make those, respective tweaks or changes or edits, whatever. And then, but yeah, it's a work in progress. You will never be, you can never say that, okay, finally I'm done with my resume, this is it, and this is what will get me my next job. It's nothing like that. You have to keep building on it.
So perfect resume is a myth. You can never build a perfect resume. It's a continuous process. So lastly, which is the most cherishable or most memorable experience of yours as a recruiter, and which thing keeps you motivated in your profession?
So there are a lot of instances, and I've written a couple of posts as well. The one that I wrote recently got a lot of likes as well. It was something about my own peer who hired as a fresher. So she was a fresher I had hired in my first organization, and when I joined Microsoft, she was there in my team, and I didn't recognize her, obviously. And she was like, "Hey, you had hired me," and I was like, "What?" So that was like one of the funny moments. But I think rather than the fact that I hired, I remember this one instance where I didn't hire someone, but So I'll tell you the story. Basically, it was a pool hiring that had happened when I recently joined Microsoft, and it was an event that a lot of people, a lot of students were attending. So people, students had traveled from different parts of that place, and they had come to that location for the interview. And there were about 200 students who had come, just for the interview. So it was a big pool drive. And I remember because there were so many people, and we had a lot of interviewers, and it was pretty big. Like it was chaos. And there was this one student who unfortunately did not clear the last round or something. It was an intern hiring event. He did not clear the last round, and I could see him being very upset about the whole thing. Like he was genuinely upset. Like he came to me, he said, "Ma'am, can I get another opportunity? I could make out that he was upset." And at that point in time, I could have either told him, "Not now, can we talk later?" Or I could have just said, "No," or whatever. But I just felt that, this guy, he is really, like, he's genuinely upset. So I took him aside. I kind of removed him from that room, because there were so many students, and some was, obviously, it's Microsoft, or some was shrieking. There was, someone was very happy and someone was not so happy. So a lot happening. So I took him out of the room, and I spoke to him. I asked him, I said, "What's the matter?" And he said, "Ma'am, I don't know what I'll do. Like, I was really hoping that I would get this opportunity. And I don't think I can go back home now." For a minute, I was like, I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. And I think he was trying to say that, something on the lines of, suicidal thoughts. And I was like, damn, like, what do I do? Like, I'm not trained for this, I'm not a psychologist or whatever. How do I deal with this situation? So at that point in time, I had to just stop being a recruiter. I had to stop everything, and I just had to be Ruchika. And I told him, I said, "Do you realize what you're saying?" He's like, "Ma'am, my parents were hoping I would get this opportunity. I'm the brightest in my class. I'm a topper, and my professors were expecting this, and I don't think I can go back and face them." And I was like, I said, "First of all, the first thing, you are talking about an opportunity, which is an internship opportunity for 2 months. And for the sake of that, are you really willing to, destroy the next 40, 50 years of your life?" And he's like, "Ma'am, but like, how do I accept this?" I said, I'm sorry, but this is this is a fact of life. This is a failure. And failure makes you strong. Today you did not get, an internship. Tomorrow you might get that full-time offer with Microsoft. So I would
Exactly true.
throw that away. So that one instance, it really comes to me, and as a recruiter, like, not even as a recruiter, I think as a human being, I realized that at that point in time, I just had to be a human being, nothing else. But yeah, I think I think failure is such an important part of our lives. And and to the student community especially, they have so much of pressure already. There's so much happening, there's so much of competition, and it's crazy. But if we do not fail, we will not cherish our success in the future. And I'll give you a quick example about myself only. When I was, before Microsoft happened, I was interviewing quite a bit, and I was interviewing almost every other month. I think I went through about 6 months of rejections. And I remember there was one particular company wherein I interviewed, I think there were about 10 rounds of interviews. And by the end of it, I was like, I think the only person I've not met is probably the security guard. Because by the end of it, I was exhausted. I'm like, yeah, what exactly is going on? I never went through so many rounds.
Exactly.
By the end of it, I was rejected. And I was like, yeah, like, I'm 10 rounds and you get rejected. And I was like, okay, fine. But what I realized was that all those rejections, all of those companies that I interviewed with, actually were helping me prepare for that one interview with Microsoft. And that one interview with Microsoft, I was able to nail it. So that's my advice to everybody. Don't take failure as, oh, it's the end of everything, and that's it, and my career has gone down the drain. There are so many people in Microsoft right now who probably have had humble beginnings themselves. They worked in startups, they worked in other organizations, and now they have come into Microsoft and they are making a tremendous amount of impact. So that would be my advice to everybody, to accept failure first, because it's only helping you be successful in the future.
Great, great. I mean, yeah, true. For the second thing that you mentioned, either we succeed or either we learn something out of it. We never fail, actually. And with respect to the first, as Satya also said, everybody should include empathy, the feeling of empathy in themselves. So that will help you grow yourself and help other as well. So that's true. And I really enjoyed the session actually. Honestly, I really enjoyed the session, and I hope this session will help a lot of students. The tricks you shared and the tips you shared, the things that one should avoid and the things one should keep in mind while building the resume. Even I'm going to, check my resume today by the end of the day. All the students who are watching this, you can follow her on her channel, Ruchika Rock, and she posts some amazing content over there which will definitely help you. And so do check that out. The link is in the description, and I hope you like the video, so do give it a like and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you, Ruchika, for your time, and all the best for your endeavors ahead.
Bye, take care.